All right, let's go, baby. Texas versus Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. The Longhorns have played in the most Cotton Bowls of any other program in college football history, 23 times. First time for Texas since 2003 when we beat LSU 35-20. Can't wait for this one. It is going to be awesome. Both teams playing really good football. I remember, I'll take you back, September 28th. I'm calling the Ohio State-Michigan State game in East Lansing. And I always like to go down on the field and talk to a few coaches before the game started. And I'm having a conversation with Ryan Day. And I probably shouldn't have said this, but I just said, like, hey, man, like, I'm watching all of college football. I know it's just September, but it certainly feels like Texas and Ohio State are the two most talented teams in the country. And they're kind of on a collision course to meet in the playoffs. And Ryan Day looked at me and was like, whoa, it's September. Like, don't we got a lot of football left to play. This is our first Big Ten road game. I don't want to talk about that. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I'm just an analyst. But when I look at college football, I think that these are the two most talented teams. And lo and behold, this is where we are in the Cotton Bowl. Both teams playing very well. Ohio State coming off probably their two best games against Tennessee, and last week just blowing Oregon, out of the Rose Bowl. And Texas, we find ways to win. I would say, like, we've got to play better in the second and third quarter. It seems like we come out on fire and then we finish on fire. We won't be able to do that and beat Ohio State this week. But I'm pumped about this game. It's a great matchup. Two really well-coached football teams going at it. It's going to be a ton of fun. So right now, listen, all the talk is about Ohio State and how good they're playing across the board, both sides of the ball, and they are. They're playing really, really good football. But when I look at Texas and I look at our game against Clemson and our game against Arizona State, I find encouragement. Look, we missed field goals, did some dumb stuff on offense in the middle of the game. We should have closed them out when it was 24-8 against Arizona State. But the sign of a good team is that when you do all that and still find a way to win the game, that's positive, that's encouraging. You can take a lot from that. And just the team that Coach Sark has built, they're still playing with a lot of confidence. They know they got to play better, but there's still a lot of confidence there. I think this matchup will be a lot more like Clemson. I think You saw Clemson and Cade Klubnik, and they were able to move the football and score some points. I don't think Clemson's defense was anywhere near what Ohio State's defense is. So it's going to be a mano-a-mano, man-on-man. Everybody's going to have to win their battles. And when I look at this game, there's a lot going on, right? I'm very familiar with Ohio State and what they do, and Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and Jim Knowles. They're good football coaches, but so is Texas. I mean, I would say that Pete Kwiatkowski would be my pick for the Broyles Award for the top assistant coach in football. What he's done for our defense, you got an All-American on three different levels. You have Alfred Collins up front. You have Anthony Hill. You have Jahdae Barron, like on each level. I mean, we've got some studs on defense. The matchup that I want to watch this week, you're going to hear a lot about the run game and, the 1-2 punch from Ohio State and for what Wisner's doing on our team. But the receivers, listen, you're going to hear a bunch about Ohio State's receivers, Carnell Tate, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith may be the best young receiver I've ever seen. But look at what we've got at Texas with the emergence of Gunnar Helm and all that he's done and the threat that he is in the red zone. Then you have Matthew Golden and his performance last week in the clutch. He's such a smooth route runner, great pass catcher with his hands. He goes up and finds the ball. DeAndre Moore playing great. Ryan Wingo showing up at times. And then you got a guy, Silas Bolden and Isaiah Bond, who are playmakers in special teams, but also in the slot and have a chance to take him over the top. Like, our receivers have played consistent for Quinn all year long. These guys are constantly open. You go back and watch the tape, you can pick a guy. They're fundamentally sound in their routes. They're very smart in their alignments and in their motions. And when we snap and the relationship between, the receivers and their releases, it's incredible to watch from an offensive standpoint, what our receivers are doing and what they have done. And I don't think they get near as much credit as they deserve. And they're going to have to play lights out this week. Yeah, you look at Ohio State's offense, right? We talked about the 1-2 punch of their running backs, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, and their ability to get going makes this offense click. And then on the outside, their little bubble screens, their catch and runs to the receivers and their ability to throw the ball down the field off of play action. It all starts with their run game. They're banged up on their offensive line. They lost their center. They've had to move around pieces all year long up front, but they have played really good the last couple of weeks. And so the matchup for our defense, I think, is still we have to be able to stop the run. You can't let Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins just eat up the clock, get 5 to 6 yards per carry, stay ahead of the chains, and just all of a sudden you look up and, they've run so much, then they hit a shot to Jeremiah Smith over the top for a big play. That's their scheme. That's their system. That's Chip Kelly. And Will Howard, honestly, has done a great job of managing this offense. He's better than a game manager. He's better than what people give him credit for. He's had a great season. I know he's 0-4 against Texas. You know that this is a big deal for him to go back and play on this Ohio State football team and get a crack at Texas. He's never beat them before. They are going to be dialed and ready, and our defense has to have the ability to stop the run. I think our secondary has proven that they lead the country, I think, with 21 interceptions. They're good on the back end, but it all comes down to Pete and this defense figuring out a way to contain this Chip Kelly run game. And when you watch Ohio State, there's nothing you can really game plan for. They run outside zone, inside zone, toss sweep, crack sweep, counter actions, pulling guards and tackles, gap schemes. There's nothing that they don't. And then you got to stop the zone read with Will Howard. So they are very multiple in what they do in their run game, and they build a lot of their pass plays off of it. They're tough to stop. And, I think watching them all year long, they've gotten better and better. Now, listen, this is the same team that got beat by Michigan 2 weeks ago. Everybody's talking about how hot this team is. They're the team to beat, blah, blah, blah. Like, Michigan should have never been on the same field as them 3 weeks ago, and they got beat at home in a game that really mattered. And so it just depends on who shows up. And I think if Texas can stop the run, hit them in the mouth early, they're going to be just fine. Texas is coming into this game as an underdog. I'm not sure that that's been the case all year long. Probably a little chip on your shoulder if you're Texas and if you're Coach Sark and you're the higher seed and you're going to this game and know that you're the underdog. Yeah, there's going to be an edge for Texas for sure. I think it's a great matchup. I mean, really, we talked about this earlier, but the two most talented teams are playing in the Cotton Bowl on Friday night. And when you look at Ohio State's defense versus our offense, Quinn, our run game, our offensive line, I think our offensive line is going to have their best game. They haven't played great the last couple of weeks. They've played good in spurts, but their ability to establish the run game and establish that line of scrimmage, which they've been pretty much able to do the whole second half of the season, that's going to be key this week. And can this run game get going, and can Quinn stay upright? I imagine that there's going to be a lot of quick game, a lot of getting the ball out of Quinn's hands, some RPOs, some things like that early to aid in the offensive line play. But at the end of the day, as this game gets going, we've got to be able to push the ball down the field. We've got to be able to find Matthew Golden and DeAndre Moore and Gunnar Helm up the seam. And Quinn's got to have time to do that. I think Ohio State's front is decent. I don't know that they're great. Like, I know you hear a lot about their two edge rushers and their linebackers are fast and physical. They're good. They're very good. But I don't think that they're elite in rushing the passer. And I think our tackles are going to have to play a very good game in keeping Quinn upright, giving him the ability to go to his first and second read. And I think if that's the case, that will be one of the storylines to watch for us on offense going against Ohio State's defense. They're not that complicated. They can blitz, they can pressure, but they sit back there in their base defense and play quarters. I mean, if you play quarters, I love playing against that. You know where everybody's going to be. They're not going to trick you. They're not going to confuse you. They're a very sound football team. Jim Knowles is an unbelievable coach. He has everybody in position to make plays. He plays to their strengths, which is they are fast, they are physical, they tackle well, they know their responsibilities on defense. They can come after you, but that's not their DNA. Their DNA is to just play solid, sound football. And I think when you're a guy like Coach Sark, knowing that I know what these coverages are, I know the responsibilities for all 11 players on defense, I know how to attack that. We just have to go out there and execute.
Want to win money watching football? With Underdog, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash just by picking higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, like whether or not your team's running back will score a touchdown this weekend. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars on Underdog. Will you be next? Sign up now to get a free pick for your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.
Okay, so Texas fans, it's at the Cotton Bowl. This is basically a home game for us. We have got to show up. That could be a home field advantage that will be key for Texas. I know Ohio State travels well. They always have. I've been a part of 3 of the best matchups of Texas versus Ohio State that I can remember maybe ever. When we went to Ohio State and beat them in Columbus, I was on the sideline holding a clipboard, watching Vince and our offense and defense do their thing, beat them there. That was a huge game. Then they came to Austin the next year, and unfortunately we slipped up. It was my second start of my career. They ended up going to the national championship that year, and then we got a chance to play them in the Fiesta Bowl a few years later and beat them. And it was a hard game, a tough matchup. But I think Ohio State always is going to have good defense. That's what they do. It's the same thing this year. No one's really put up a whole ton of points of them outside of them going to Oregon early in the year when they got beat in a shootout. They are really good on defense. Fans, we got to show up. We got to be loud. We have to make this a home field advantage at AT&T Stadium in the Cotton Bowl. It's only a few hours away. Like that's a big deal for Texas in this game. That could give an edge to our team realistically because Ohio State is a good football team. They're playing good ball right now. I think one of the most important things in this game is our physicality. Listen, our defense is a little bit gassed. We played almost 100 snaps against Arizona State. That's a lot of snaps for our defense to play. I think it's important that our defense gets their legs back underneath them. And then overall, we have to match their physicality. This is a physical football team. On both sides of the line of scrimmage, they're physical. They will hit you. They're fast. Their linebackers are athletic. Can we run the football? Can we stop the run? That's what it's always going to come down to when you're playing a Big Ten football team. That's what this will be. We've been able to do that. We've been able to establish that. We're going to have to play our best football up front, O-line, D-line, in order to win this football game. And when I look at this overall matchup, there's skill guys everywhere. Their receivers are elite. Our receivers are elite. Both quarterbacks are playing very efficient football. Who can run the ball better, who can stop the run is what this game is going to come down to. And I am excited about this matchup. Listen, I said it early in the season. I think these are the 2 most talented football teams in football. And coming into this game, this is what college football is all about. This is fun, right? This playoff, holy cow. I mean, I couldn't imagine a bigger game. The fact that it's in Dallas, the fact that it's in the Cotton Bowl, right up the street for us. Let's go out there and play great. And I know that we can come out on top. So my prediction in this game is if we go out there and run the football and stop the run, we'll win. I think it'll be a fun one to watch. I have Texas winning this game 31-27 late in the fourth quarter. Our defense makes a big stop and sends us to the national championship.